No,
table
it used
were
to
in.
be, there was, yeah, there were a couple
Nancy,
different
I
signals.
left the warrants on, right there.
I'm ready.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, and we're going to begin this meeting. It's being audio and video recorded. It's on Channel 9 on Tomcats, and it's also going to be uploaded on YouTube. Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we please remain standing, please?
Yes, while we're standing, I received information about the passing of two residents, Louis Muida Jr. and also Dola Jetty. And in their memory, I ask a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
May be seated. Thank you. Okay, the first item is the appointment for the Town Governance Committee interview, and that person's not present, so I'm going to move on to the next item, which is public input. Is there any public input?
How many people are on the Town Governance Committee now?
There are 7 seats, 6 vacancies six seats right now, but as you continue and you have your votes, you'll have some vacancies. It's just later on in the agenda, you'll rescind the appointment.
Okay, why don't we go, since there's no public input, to Town Administrator's report.
Okay, and this is what Highway Superintendent Ferry is here for. We're just here to basically get some decisions from the board on what we're going to do, some final decisions of what we're gonna do with the former police station building. So, the highway department has been cleaning it out. They've gutted it sort of, to remove all of the inner walls, and now it's more of what it used to be as a garage. We have cut off all the utilities there, and so the highway department would like to use it as temporary storage, for equipment. It wouldn't really be a workplace, so we wouldn't need utilities, we would just need some sort of lighting. So in speaking with Jim Aguirre, the building commissioner, we talked about trying to explore some solar-powered lighting options so that they wouldn't be on all of the time. We wouldn't have to utilize any sort of national grid type thing, but we don't want to go through all of that without knowing if you're behind using it as a temporary storage facility. We are in need of some storage. The solution, the final solution to this would be a new highway garage at Tremont Street that we've sort of bandied about. It's come about as part of the 5-year plan. So we need to know, in order to make these things happen, if you want to demolish it or if you want to go forward with using it as temporary storage.
So what are we paying now for insurance for the?
Right now, we pay it as a vacant building. I did not continue the flood insurance because if it flooded out, like, okay, nobody's in it. So the vacant building insurance was $4,500. We would obviously change, for the year. We would obviously change that if we started to store it. We would, again, not do the flood insurance because if we knew that there was gonna be a storm, we would move all of that equipment anyway. And if, you know, it's sort of not worth the cost at that point. But we would have the equipment listed on our insurance. So the equipment would be insured. Even if there wasn't a flood, if something happened inside the building.
And there's nowhere else in town that these things can be.
So right
So
now,
I wanted to demolish it from the beginning, so there's nowhere else in town to put these items.
Well, we now have the animal shelter that's your building now, right?
the old
The old animal shelter.
No, we're not in the, it used to.
No, but
That's perfect.
so has it been, does it have to be officially returned to you? Because we can take a vote now to do that.
It's not available now. I'm not sure when it will be available. It wouldn't suit all our storage needs now.
That's right.
To answer Brett's question, we have stuff outside now. It's been outside.
other stuff is in an area that's leaking a little bit right now. So if you did use this as temporary storage, we would make that part, we would take that down, the leaking lean-to kind of area, so that we're not keeping old buildings that aren't really serving any purpose. But that's why this is here. We need to go forward, so we need to know what the expectation is from you as a board.
Well, I'm also concerned that we're talking about a temporary use of it.
Full.
And it was a
Right.
temporary police station for what, 40 years? So I mean, I don't want to see this now as our solution for all the equipment.
So that's my note here, that I write on my agenda, some notes that I want to make sure I say to you, and it's, if it is to be temporary storage, we need to have serious conversations about a timeline for when we're gonna maybe have a new highway garage and what that would look like. How do we start funding for it? You know, do we start taking a few dollars here and there at town meeting and put aside for it? We need to just start having a plan. We need to put together a plan if this stays as temporary storage, to your point, because you're right. We don't want to keep it there as a permanent solution. It's not suitable for that.
The public, the people I meet everywhere, have asked about it because they noticed that some work was going on. And when I said it's temporary storage for the highway department, they thought it was a good idea. My other thought is that we had attempted to acquire a building earlier. The cost of that building was all erected, and it was just prohibitive. And because it was so expensive to acquire it, that's when we really started talking about constructing our own new highway facility at the transfer station on town land. So that new building, that new facility is on the list. It's on the, as you said, it's on the 5-year list. And the goal is to try to accomplish everything on the lists that we all have. So some may take longer than others, some will be bond issues, but it would seem that we should be able to do something with getting that facility without long-term borrowing or a bond issue, maybe a short-term note. But in any case, the feedback I got from the public, they came to me, I didn't go out asking, and they were glad to hear something was going to be done with it, but they understand we're not keeping it forever.
There are some costs related to keeping it. Tom told me that it needs a new garage door, some cement blocks in the back. Is that right?
Yeah, eliminate the 2 back doors that are out of sight. Just put the cement blocks back there, and the opening that you see there now, put some type of garage door, either we build one or install a garage door. But Mel is right, at this time, we don't have to put utilities on or nothing. You got a good sound roof, masonry walls, masonry floor.
So these items wouldn't fit in the animal shelter?
What I had in the animal shelter before was a sweeper and a truck. I'm talking about in that building, put all our tractors, wood chipper, all the landscape stuff we have, all the small tools we have. Some of it's tucked in, not that safe, and a lot of it's stored outside. It's just deteriorating outside. I'm after trying to prolong the equipment that we have. That's what I'm after. So just in the interim, that's why we use the word temporary. And if we can be all together on it, you know. The outcome of the building sounds like it needs to come down. Sounds like it needs to, but I think we should take advantage of it while it's up.
So the stuff doesn't all fit in the animal shelter, is
Correct,
the answer?
correct.
Okay.
And do you have a lot of surplus equipment that we can get rid of, that we don't have to store anymore?
You're not storing outside of what you see at the transfer station. That's not storing needs that I'm talking about.
Right.
That's above and beyond. And I believe we're targeting September, October for that stuff.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, in your highway building now, do you have stuff there that we're not using anymore, that we could get
Make
some
room?
space there? I don't know. So. And what do you think the cost would be then for garage doors and cement blocks?
Half a pallet of cement blocks. I can't imagine it being much more than $20, $50. The garage door, it depends on how the building commission wants to go on that. It'd be similar to the size of the highway garage. I procured that 18 months ago to try to replace that one, and I believe that's around $3,200. And that's about it, and then the whole thing is sealed up.
That's the biggest door you have?
No, that's just the front door.
Oh, okay, all right.
Is there any other comment on this? Well, it seems like there's a need for us to use the building right now. I would be cautious as to what we're putting in it. stuff that we're gonna be using, for sure. What is the pleasure of the board then?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we give permission to Mr. Ferry and Mr. Aguirre to move ahead with making the old police station into temporary storage space
Is there
for
a
the
second?
highway department.
Is there a second?
No, I originally voted to demolish it, so I'm not gonna second that.
I'm gonna step down and second that motion. Is there money in the budget? I have a, during the discussion, is there money in the budget to pay for all of this?
It would probably be out of public buildings, and yes, we have the money, but, I mean, it's July, so of course we have, you know, we just got it.
Yeah, I just don't
So,
want to deplete that either. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Ferry, for coming in.
Mr. Chairman, the other thing is, we've got another update. We're supposed to do quarterly updates on our 5-year list.
yes.
Is that right?
Mhm.
So we can give you a progress report then also. And I don't know if you want to look at your priorities, but see if you want anything changed. I'll just leave it up to you, not looking for an answer. Something to think about when we do our next quarterly report to the board.
We also, in this discussion, talked about moving, so if the plan is to move the highway operations to Tremont Street, we would need to work out with DEP about a change of use for that property. So we thought that what we should do is go to the townspeople to ask for some money in the fall for that, and then we could get a flavor as to what they think about moving the highway garage there.
One concern I have is that we need to, maybe during our next quarterly report, we need to start planning, we need to prioritize these
Yes.
things. We can't just do
Collectively.
everything at once.
Collectively, right.
Some things are needed more than others, and I'm not making a judgment here tonight about that. I want to hear more about it, but we can't do everything at once.
I would also say that as long, you don't have to complete everything, like, the sewer study one, that doesn't mean like we're gonna go lay some pipes in the ground immediately, like you
I
just.
see that as,
Yeah, you don't have
that's
to complete,
long-term.
that's just an example I'm throwing out there, but you don't have to complete everything, it's just that, to keep it on your radar, like to keep it moving, keep momentum going there. I personally do see a high need for the highway department, so for me personally, that was actually on my list that I had handed to you. So I think that it's worth exploring at this point in a actual terms.
Do you
and
think
what it
that's
would-
higher need than what the fire department needs?
I think they both need it, but I think the fire department can make do with renovations. Chief McGee and I have talked
Yeah.
about it extensively. We can renovate that building. They have the property next door, so they can add to that, and that would be much cheaper, less expensive than a new building for them, but also a new building for a highway garage. For highway garage, you know, you can kind of put something together in the lower millions, but I know that's not small change. I don't mean to think that it is.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But as far as fire departments go, you'd be in the higher millions. So I look at it that a renovation would be a little bit more palatable for a fire station
Yeah,
and a
which
newer
is all
building
they've
than a
asked
highway.
for. They've
Right.
asked
Right,
for an
exactly.
expansion. I'm just.
And that's a high need.
There- I
That
think
renovation's
we
a
all
high
need
need.
to- We need to think about the fact that not everything might get approved. So that's why I'm saying we need to prioritize
Prioritize.
everything, what's more
Exactly.
important. So,
We also.
We're way off the subject.
Okay. May I have just one final word? It's very short. The building inspector and I have talked about that he's gonna come and present this to you in September. But doing an impact fee off of building permits, which I think he has presented to you previously, and trying to make that into an account for municipal building projects, so that we're not always going back to the town and asking them to fund municipal projects. We would take some money, some revenues from having new building projects in town, like homes and all of that, and be able to use that for capital expenditures. So we're looking into that as well.
he's been talking about that for
Yeah.
a long time. He wanted to
Would
do
also
that
be
with green
selling an
energy.
asset.
And we would also be selling an
Would have
asset.
income on that property, so.
Correct.
But it would
Yes.
still come
Have to
from
look at all of that.
taxpayers.
Right,
They, we wouldn't be asking them to raise and appropriate, for an
Oh,
example.
yeah,
But
I'm
they're
sorry,
still
yes.
paying.
but selling that, you know, we're way down a road that I don't want to go down tonight, but selling that land after we move a building without sewage, we're not going to get much money for it. with sewerage, we're gonna get more money for it. So we can't just move the building, the highway department next year, don't have sewage for 3 years, and then try to sell that property without the sewage.
Okay, no,
because
that's
the
what I'm
value of
saying,
it.
selling an asset,
Right,
like
but
Brett
we
said,
have,
future stuff.
we're talking about a new library, I mean, we're talking about a lot of different
That's-
stuff, and we have to
I
kind of
agree.
try to be on the same page. Library's not gonna be next week.
Correct, yeah, just like the sewer won't, and,
Right.
you know.
This may be something that's gonna happen quicker, the fire station may be something, but
yeah,
anyway,
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
thank you, Mr. Ferry. And,
It was actually a good discussion, so it's nice to see, kind of see where you all are on it.
yeah, no, I see a need for you to use that building, but I would only see it for temporary, and it's almost like I would like to put an end date on it. If we don't move on the highway building, then we knock the building down, and you have to find another place for your stuff. I don't want it forever to be utilizing that building, so, thank you.
Thank you.
That is all I have for my
Yep,
report.
old business, clarify the June 26, 2019 vote to disallow clothing allowance for
On
non-union.
June 26th, per the town accountant's request, you had looked at a document that specified clerical type work for their clothing allowance. However, in your motion, it just said clothing allowance for non-union personnel, which is quite different than what was actually a discussion. So this has come up enough times that I am seeking you to make a clarifying vote on that it was for clerical type functions and not a uniform allowance for like the call firefighters and not a uniform allowance for somebody like Tom Ferry who we require to use work-safe boots and certain clothing.
What would I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
no, what
You
would the
would
wording be?
exempt,
Thank you.
exempt those, the exemption would be those employees, those non-union employees that require, their positions require them to wear certain clothes. Exempt them from the non-benefit, if that makes, am I making
I'm
any
gonna
sense?
No.
I'm gonna
default
let
to
Mrs.
selectmen.
Goulart come up with a motion.
I always give you the hard ones.
Now,
So,
what was the vote on the 26th
on
of
June
June?
26th, you voted to remove the clothing allowance for non-union personnel. That was your vote, the actual vote. What the document was in front of you was specific, very specific, to the finance committee. When they did budgets, they removed clothing allowance for clerical positions not in the union. So this would be people, I didn't get a clothing allowance, but people like me, the town accountant, the treasurer collector, the town clerk, the principal assessor. So they actively had those conversations on those particular departments. The documentation you had specified that type of work, not a uniform allowance that we require the highway department to wear certain things, so Tom Ferry would also have to wear certain things. So I'm seeking that you make a clarifying vote that non-union, not allowing non-union personnel to have a clothing allowance does not impact those who have a uniform allowance or a clothing allowance to complete the functions of their job.
So the wording needs to specifically be clothing allowance, not uniform allowance?
No,
No.
who outside of,
Call firefighters, because they're non-union, Tom Ferry, the two chiefs, they have to wear a uniform. So it's just the wording of your original vote was quote-unquote vague. So even if you just said the intent of your vote was for that, based on the documentation that you reviewed that night, I mean, that's good
Or
enough.
can we make a motion to specify in a certain group of people that will get a clothing allowance?
Sure, that makes it simple.
I'm still gonna allow Selectman Goulart to.
Oh, yeah, no,
Well,
she's
see-
writing something, so
the first time, this is, we did this years ago, and then it came back again. The people who got, when it came up the first time, the response from the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen was no. People covered under union contracts are entitled to it, even if they don't have to wear a uniform.
Correct,
It's
not
not-
disputing
it's
that,
in the- it's in the
and that
contract.
hasn't changed.
Then, sometime after that, the Board of Selectmen said that they would give a clothing allowance to those who have employees covered by the clerical union contract. So it's department heads and things like that. And the question came back, why? They don't even have to wear a name badge. So they got it. Then it came back to the Finance Committee, and initially the Finance Committee said, if you're not required to wear a uniform or get special shoes, like safety shoes, you shouldn't get the allowance. But then during that discussion at the Finance Committee meeting, the feeling was the contract is already negotiated. You would have to open up the contract and remove that clause because the town already voted to give clerical union employees that allowance. So what the Finance Committee did was vote that the department heads and others who supervise employees covered by the clerical union contract would not receive that clothing allowance benefit. So the union people continued to get it. Then it changed again and they started giving it to everybody. And now it's where we are
We're
now.
back. Okay.
So thinking back to when it was taken away several times, the time before this, what the Finance Committee position was that those who supervise, employees who supervise, those who supervise employees covered by the union, the clerical union contract are not eligible for a clothing allowance. That would be the town accountant, the treasurer, collector, clerk, assessors, let me think, council on aging.
Library director?
Yes, yes. So it's those who supervise people covered under the clerical union contract are not eligible. That's how that all came about.
Can you make that into a motion?
So, but does that cover then those that we want to have
Yes, it
clothing
does.
Yes,
allowance then?
because-
So,
right.
call firefighters, Mr. Ferry, for
Yes, because
example.
this only affected clerical union people.
The only
That's
one
when
I'm-
it came in.
The only one I'm thinking about is actually the building commissioner. He supervises a clerical union person. He has certain insignia on
We
his
can
clothing,
exempt him.
so exempt him.
Does, I can't think of, what about the veterans?
I don't think he has a,
I think he wears a
you
uniform.
know, he has no need, so, right, he's, I'm not worried about him, but the building commissioner's one,
But why would we exempt him?
because he has to wear steel-toed boots, and kind of, he is in his
wears some
shirt has
kind of-
the, insignia.
So when he
on there.
goes out, people can see he's, besides having an ID.
I don't think he has a clothing allowance, but I'm not certain over it, so I don't wanna take it away tonight, having this doubt. But
believe
I
he
don't think, I
does.
think we would just buy, the town would just buy that shirt, like he would charge it off, but I don't
Well,
know.
I can exempt
Or
him in
like
the
buy
motion,
it and
and
then
if we find
reimburse.
out,
Right.
if I exempt him in the motion and he doesn't get it, it doesn't mean he's
Doesn't
gonna
matter,
get it. He
right.
would still have to come to the
Yeah,
board. And if he is getting an allowance, it's not gonna
Not
affect him.
affected.
All right, let me try this. Mr. Chairman, I move that department heads who supervise employees covered by the clerical union collective bargaining agreement, with the exception of the building commissioner, are not eligible for a clothing allowance.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Thank you, Selectman Goulart.
If that doesn't work, we'll come
We
up
give
with
you the
another one.
easy stuff,
Probably
right?
have to revisit this again.
I like that you're like the resident hard motion maker. Thank you for
Okay, the
that.
next item is the second reading of the reservation and use of town facilities and review the fee schedule.
Those changes that were discussed at the previous meeting have been made. The only addition tonight that has not been disclosed in public is this schedule of rental fees, which I had indicated last meeting would be before you. We're not, these are educated suggestions of a rental fee or reservation fee, excuse me. We're just looking for your feedback.
May I
So-
ask a question?
Yes, but let me ask the first
Sure.
question. On the pavilion,
Yes.
now the Lions Club controls that, and I don't believe that they charge a fee for it.
I think you're right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And I know groups have, for example, the Dayton Historical Society, if everybody's, knows that I'm a member of the Dayton Historical Society, we've used that, and we've made a donation to the Lions Club, so they are receptive to donations, but they don't have a fee, so I don't think we ought to be collecting a
So-
fee.
We should
When
remove
you,
it.
when you.
We shouldn't ask people to pay $25 to the town.
So if I was an outside entity and
Pavilion,
I
okay.
coordinated with the Lions Club to rent out the pavilion for like a little party I wanted, they
Yes.
only ask for a donation? That's what you mean?
Yes, they, as far as I know, they don't ask for a fee. It doesn't, we don't schedule it. It's Kyle Stonestrom
Right.
who runs that. We have no involvement, the town has no involvement in that, and they just rent it. They let them know what the rules are, and
So I'm just gonna edit that with no fee.
Me,
okay.
oh, no, I'm sorry.
You can ask, no, you can ask.
My question is, and I apologize if I'm not recalling correctly, I believe well, I don't think we ever talked about it, but what happens if, and I'm just making this up, let's say an organization, so this is resident and non-resident. To me, that indicates it's almost like a person that's
Right.
requesting it. What if it's like a religious entity, organization that wants to have an event at Old Town Hall? I'm obviously making this up. Are we going to assess them fees?
I think you're given the opportunity to waive, you, meaning the board, are given the opportunity to
So
waive
we
the
have
fee.
that language of unless
Yes.
For
waived.
nonprofits?
For nonprofits.
Thank you.
You're,
Yeah.
There is a local church on Main Street that uses facilities here. They have like I want to call it a picnic, and it's open to the public, and I think it's free to the public.
the Board of Selectmen may waive any reservation fee at its discretion.
As long, yeah, I was
And-
just
yeah.
making sure we retain,
That
and I don't know
ability.
how my colleagues feel, but I'm okay with it. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to vote to waive it, but I do like that
Flexibility.
flexibility and not having like a rigid, we're always gonna do this, we're always gonna do that. So I don't know how my colleagues feel about that.
The discretion of the board's fine with me.
So I think a lot of nonprofits are gonna ask us to waive the fee, which I'm okay with, because they're nonprofits and most of them are doing good work, so I don't know if we should just maybe say not to give a fee to a nonprofit?
Like spell it out?
Spell it out, or do we
I
just
would
want?
leave
Honestly,
it,
okay,
always
I-
leave it to your flexibility. You
Could
always
waive
want
the fee, because that's what we do with licenses and permits.
Correct,
It's
exactly.
up to us to waive it.
To waive it, right.
The only reason I would be okay with kind of having that language in the actual policy is because I always talk about like we should be fair and equitable. So I don't foresee while I'm on the board, and I'll just speak for myself, a circumstance where I would waive it for one nonprofit and not waive
Not
it for the
another.
other.
Correct. I mean, of
So-
course you wouldn't do
So
that.
why would we not just say that we're gonna waive the fee for nonprofits? Therefore, I have the same position that you have. If a nonprofit comes before us, I'm gonna advocate that the fee be waived. So why are we having them go through that trouble? Why are we gonna spend 20 minutes discussing whether we're gonna waive the fee? When we can just, I would say we're gonna waive the fee for nonprofits.
And I'm only asking because this is like we're gonna approve it, or we're gonna
Next
vote
time.
to approve it or not next time. So it's, kind of the time to have that discussion.
So what is your feeling on that, if we do that? No, seriously, I would like to know.
I don't, and this isn't even issue specific, I never like to force my hand in the future. I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. Maybe this nonprofit actually, I don't know, I didn't wanna make anything up because I don't wanna say anything about a nonprofit, but I don't like to force a hand for something I don't know the situation for in the future. So I don't like to put things in policy that forces me to waive not me, but forces the town to waive something that, in 5 years from now might not be in the best interest, or there might
Can
be a
always be
circumstance,
changed.
there might be a circumstance that is a problem to waive it. I mean, I don't know. We just don't, it's hard to think of everything, and I don't want to tie your hands, I guess. So I think you are given the ability to waive it at your discretion. Generally, our past practice has been to waive it for nonprofits, and that's been ongoing. I've even been a part of those conversations, so I don't see this as being anything other than reflective of what you're already doing.
I'm just trying to avoid people that having to come before the board to ask that the fee will be waived when we're gonna waive the fee anyway, most likely, if it's a nonprofit, and then have us have to sit through and take the time, so.
Well, it has to come before you anyway, because you have to approve it.
But then it
It's
would
gotta
just
be
be
there
like
anyway.
a 2-second.
Is everybody that's renting these buildings coming before the board? Because
I think so.
that hasn't happened in the past, I don't believe. Before the policy, we haven't been doing that.
No,
That's
that's right.
probably true.
That's right. It's when if it's like a site plan, if it's like a major event that comes before you, but you give it permission for people to use the field. you
Yeah, but
don't, you
we've
know.
given, the town has given permission from people to use that building already without it coming before the board. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
are you entertaining motions?
yes, I am.
I'm going to make a motion that we insert language, and I will leave it up to our fantastic town administrator to figure out which point in the policy it will be, that the Board of Selectmen shall waive fees, rental fees, excuse
Right.
me, for usage of town facilities.
By whom?
For nonprofits,
For nonprofits, excuse me. That was the whole point.
is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
We have a second discussion.
So what my concern is, political groups and functions are not eligible, aren't they nonprofits?
It
Yeah,
can
but-
be.
Yeah,
We
but
made- we
yeah, but
put
they're
that
not
in the
eligible.
policy.
But what I'm saying to you is now I'm getting uncomfortable
You're in the
because
gray, because you're in the gray.
we're already telling every other group, you guys are okay. And we're already telling the other group, you're not even admitted, you're not gonna use this facility. My thought was, when somebody applies for a use of a facility, and it comes in to the selectman's office, and it goes to the town administrator, she's gonna check it out and do all this other stuff. She's gonna do the legwork, or call them up, or Karen will get all the information. And then, when it comes to us, I think there'll be something called recommendation. And if the recommendation, after it's all checked out, is waive the fee, it's gonna save us time. But we still have the ability, and they may not have to come in, because if the checking into them and getting the info is all done ahead of time, it's gonna be a recommendation coming into the meeting.
Well, maybe we could amend the language to be something like eligible nonprofits according to the policy. Because it's explicit in the policy that, for example, political
Political.
groups are,
Prohibited from
Yeah,
using
correct.
or renting the property.
so maybe eligible nonprofit organizations according to the policy. And again, I would leave the exact language up to you. Because you're very good about spelling it out. That's all. Mr.
So is that an amendment to the motion then?
Yes, I would like
I got it.
eligible nonprofits according to this policy. The terms and
Sure.
Do we have one more reading of
One
this?
more reading.
Yeah.
We don't adopt it tonight.
Okay.
But we're talking fees now.
Yeah,
right, so.
I'll second the amended
amendment.
language.
Any discussion on the amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. Any further discussion on the motion itself? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. So that's the second reading of our policy on using town facilities, and we'll read it again at the next meeting.
I just thought of something. We probably should list the parking lot at the town garage.
Yes.
There's
Oh,
a car
yes,
wash
there's
going
car
on,
washes, and that's regular.
It's a group of kids, it's a religious group, and there was an objection because there was a sign announcing it, and they
Yes.
said because it was a religious group and it was posted on town property. They had evidently already gotten permission to have it, but there are other groups that have car washes there, so maybe we
Yeah.
need to include the town garage.
I would agree with that. So I guess my first question before we make that motion is, do we need to make a motion, Madam Administrator, to remove the pavilion from the schedule of rental fees?
Well,
No,
no,
because we
that's,
haven't
because,
adopted.
yeah,
Okay.
I've got that in there, no fee. Even this one, I agree that you should add the town garage, and that's an oversight on my part. Tom Ferry did tell me that, and I'm sorry, I was
that's a
supposed
good
to add that.
point.
I only
so.
thought of it because somebody told me that there
Yeah,
was a
there's a
problem.
sign. So my stance on it, because I fielded a complaint about it, my stance is that we do it for everybody, so
And that's
it's
why we should do it
fundraising,
for all nonprofits.
it's fundraising, and it's a car wash, and it's the same thing that we've done for other local groups
Right.
there, so.
Well,
I
regarding a
was
sign, though, it's in the policy, though, that they have to get permission if they're gonna
But
put a
this
sign.
isn't in effect right now,
No,
so-
but what I'm saying is that that's part of the policy, so in the future,
right.
they'll have to go before somebody or ask somebody if they can put a sign up. So,
Yep, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to make
Thank you,
that
Madam
amendment.
Administrator.
Yeah, of course, that amendment's gonna
So
go in the
that was a
fee
good point.
section for anybody who's following along.
That was,
Um,
and like, I've seen like the DR,
Yeah, DR kids.
boosters, I've seen
Yeah.
Girl
Scouts.
Girl
Scouts.
Scouts, I've seen,
Yeah.
you know.
The group that's doing it is, they're raising money for the mission in Honduras. There's a group going down there. They go down every August. And so it's a nonprofit type.
No, it's important. We know, residents that have gone on that mission, so I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So are we all set with the fees then? 75, we have to vote on whether we're going to approve the $75 resident fee and non-resident of $100, and there's no fee for the Carl Spratt Memorial, as well as the pavilion and the town hall.
Can I ask a sort of a basic question, and I
You can always ask a
apologize?
question of me.
And this is for whoever can answer it. Were we charging, like if someone, before this policy, and I know it's not
Yep.
in effect yet.
Yep.
Could I use Old Town Hall without a fee?
It was $45, and that
Okay.
covered the costs of cleaning, that we expend cleaning that room. It has gotten a little beat up, by the way, for the floors, so we're going to refinish the floors. Not refinish, it's a,
Like buff
kind of
them
buff them
and all
up.
that?
They're a little in rough shape. But you, pay the fee if you are, like, the library uses that room, they are not charged the fee. But if you are, just a regular person, you're looking to host some family over or whatever, we do charge the fee. And then nonprofits request that it be waived, and traditionally you have waived that fee. But it covers,
just-
it might be $50, I'm sorry, it might be $50, but it's to cover the cost of cleaning, we don't make any money.
I'm thinking we should also add the meeting room at the library and the gazebo. There has been, I think it's I don't know if it's the Democratic Committee, but I think they've met at the library. They weren't charged, but they got permission. But the other thing is, we've had weddings in the gazebo, and we had to make sure that no one else was gonna be, using it. But just a thought, we didn't charge them, but they had, a wedding ceremony.
Well, the Democratic Committee can't meet there anymore on
Oh.
the new policy.
Okay.
On the new policy.
Okay.
Which
However,
was like the intention.
I know that the Dayton Historical Society has used that, doesn't use it now that the building's open, but has used the library, that room,
Okay, so we
as a
should
meeting, so maybe,
add the
But does
library.
that mean the Dayton Historical Society would have to pay a fee?
No,
no, because we're
no.
waiving
They're
for
a
nonprofits.
nonprofit.
But what I'm saying is, I'm kind of adding on to what Mrs.
I'm
Claus was saying.
just talking about
She
another
mentioned the Democratic
facility.
Party, and they did meet there, but they can't meet there now.
Okay.
However, we did meet, the Dayton Historical Society did meet at the library for several,
Okay.
for almost a year, I guess, so.
Okay,
So we do, there are
I'm-
nonprofits that utilize that, so.
I don't know why I feel this way, and I'm sorry, but I feel like political groups should be allowed to meet at the library. I don't have a lot of backing, I feel like, because the library is a place of ideas and learning and like learning all sorts of perspectives. I
this
don't know.
policy isn't gonna allow it.
It doesn't allow that.
No,
Okay,
and,
you know what
I
know what I'm
don't, I
saying
know what
by
you're
that?
saying.
I get what you're
understand,
saying.
but there are other halls in town that, some of the churches have, that if they wanted to have a meeting and they went through the process, they are charged a fee, but it's not exorbitant. I mean, so that they would just go to that particular,
Right,
whatever.
venue. Is there a fee for the gazebo or the library, or you
Well,
wanna do
we've
no
never
fee?
charged it before, but all I'm saying is, it has been used as a public venue, and when there's a wedding ceremony, obviously, everyone's, can't fit there, but they're all around the gazebo, so that you have a group of people. And as I said, some have then gone to the pavilion for their summer reception cookout. So it's just a thought, because it is a town facility, and they have to book it ahead of time so that someone else isn't doing something there.
Great.
So what I would say about your comment, Madam Administrator, is typically, and I was a member of the Dayton Democratic Town Committee.
As was I, so.
Yeah,
just-
they had money, they could pay, they only used the public library once, that would be $75. And I'm not saying, I'm not advocating that they should have to pay, but they could have paid it. My only concern is more of a logistical concern, specifically with the library meeting space is, and I'll use the Dayton Democratic Town Committee as an example. I believe when the committee got permission to use that space, they went directly to the library staff. How does that information, when it's not a nonprofit, so they're gonna be assessed the fee to use the meeting room in the library, how is that information trickling back to us that we need to assess someone a fee?
So, hold on one second, there's two things there. So, we are charging the library a meeting space a fee, and we are charging the gazebo a fee, or no? Yes, we are.
I support it, it's a meeting.
So
It's a-
for
it's
right
a
now,
public
only
meeting
Old
space.
Town Hall has the fee, and that's because we clean it afterwards, that's new. The town hall, here we have carpet, it's a little bit more durable. We are not charging a fee on this schedule. Would you like to charge a fee for the town hall? Because if you are charging a fee for the library, you should probably charge a fee for the town hall,
So
but it should be consistent.
Who would you have in mind that would use the town hall for something? Who,
Why not? It's a beautiful new
who-
space,
I know, but it,
like
They
the
have
library.
access to the whole
Oh, no,
building,
they
or-
already. I don't know, if, a
has that
local
ever,
company
well, has that
wanted-
ever happened? That somebody's wanted to use, seriously,
So the Lions Club, they use the town hall for, oh, that's a bad example, it's
Yeah,
a
they're
nonprofit.
Yeah,
Lights On, are they a nonprofit? Yeah.
Yes, they are.
they're like a town, it's like a town committee, it's the
We
like
talk
I
about
Holland
like
suppose, yeah.
but the
who
building
wants to-
itself, or like, you know,
The building, no, the
Vietnam
building.
veterans use the back of the building.
Okay,
Yes.
They're
like
not-
for the,
they're
They're
not
nonprofit,
charged.
right,
Yep.
right.
and the Butterflies of Hope,
Yeah.
they do a
That's
car
also
show, they're
nonprofit.
nonprofit.
I don't think
Maybe
there's
it's
a
a
problem
non-issue.
setting a fee, because
You're
if
always
we
gonna
go
waive
through
it.
the
If you're exempt,
procedure, we
you're
could waive
exempt.
it.
Correct.
I can
I
think
just
of
need to know to
Well,
make
it would
this.
automatically be waived.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we wanna stick with 75 or,
Yeah, the same schedule.
okay.
I'm sorry, I read this wrong. I was reading the $75 for residents, $100 for non-residents for everything. So I clearly read this wrong.
Okay.
But we're taking the pavilion off.
Right. We're taking the.
You're
yeah.
taking the pavilion off or you're setting no fee?
Just taking it off, that's done by the Lions Club.
I think we ought to leave it
I
on
had-
and
I
go
had
with a
asked
no
that,
fee.
um,
I think we ought to
specifically.
leave it on,
Yeah. It is
because
town property.
it does require the insurance. If I'm gonna invite all my 50 gazillion relatives and have a big clam bake out there, a clam boil, something happens, I better have that insurance that's required. Even
Right.
if I don't pay a fee, I better have the insurance. So,
Right now, was the one that that clam baker, you also gonna have friends too.
I said
Better be
gazillion.
invited.
I said gazillion.
Gazillion.
Okay, gazillion friends and relatives.
All right, but so for town spaces, it should all be at 75 and 100?
Yeah, Town Hall, Old Town Hall, pavilion, no fee.
Right.
Carl K. Spratt Memorial Field, we can do that, no fee, I have no issue with that. Athletic playing fields, library, meeting room, and what else,
Gazebo.
The gazebo.
And I thought there was one other space that Selectman Goulart had mentioned, maybe I'm wrong.
I've
No,
only
I-
got library gazebo, but so gazebo is also 7,500?
7,500?
Wow.
That's, I'm trying to get
It's a
this
beautiful
because
gazebo.
7,500?
We're just,
75 and 100. It says 75,
I heard
7,500.
75 and
That's an
100.
expensive
I did too.
gazebo.
because that's a lot of,
Gold plated,
that's a lot,
That wedding venue,
right,
right?
and it's,
75
it's a lot
resident.
of money because that roof leaks. So it's a lot of money. If you're gonna pay 7,500, you might wanna.
75 resident,
Get a pop-up tent.
100 non-resident.
New roof.
Yes.
With enough rentals, we'll fix it.
So if I wanted to get married in the gazebo, I would come to town hall and I'm a non-resident, so you would charge me $100 there.
Correct.
Okay.
I'd be upset about that.
I'd be upset about it too. I
Well, you would
probably
choose
wouldn't
another
book there.
Place to get married.
Right.
Yes, we wouldn't allow you to get married in the gazebo here,
My
quite frankly.
thought is
Chip
that,
in for a better venue.
my thought is that the town hall and the old town hall should be the same, but the library and the gazebo should be a little bit less due to the spatial constraints. Like, if you're going to Old Town Hall, you have the ability to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if you're going to the library, you don't really have a lot of space to do, that's like a table and some chairs. And the gazebo, I don't know, I wouldn't even charge for that.
As long as, the main thing is, as long as the requirement is there, that they meet the insurance requirement, so they gotta file an application,
Yep.
all all right?
So can I, my request is that the board consider gazebo at no fee and the library at maybe like 50 or $50?
We've probably got to also talk to the Board of Trustees about that.
So we're renting out your space, how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
Okay,
'Cause
that's on me,
yeah,
I'll
okay.
contact
Yes.
them,
Okay,
and we'll
So
do
for
this,
the
so this
third
might
reading?
not be,
You'll have that?
for the third reading, right,
Okay.
and if it's not ready, we just delay it, so I've got time, it's August 14th is our next meeting, so I've got
So we're
some
not gonna
time.
take a vote then at all on the Old Town
no,
Hall
this
fees?
is, no, right
No,
now,
no,
we're
this is still in draft form, and,
Draft form.
it's not ready for voting, so I'll take care of that.
The only other event I remembered at the library, it was when Representative Kennedy came to town on a Saturday morning. It was October 31st, 2015. I remember that because that's the day we had to meet down at the entrance to the Broad Cove Nature Trail. And then he was here for noon for an hour or so.
Oh,
And he met
the
at the
story,
library for anybody that wanted to stop by.
right, oh, that's nice. So his office, he had some office hours down
Mhm.
here, some
Yes, he
visiting
did.
hours.
Okay, new business. Appoint Justin Jackson
So
as
this
reserve
is,
dispatcher.
yes, he should have been included in that list of, he's a current reserve dispatcher. We need the reserve dispatchers right now. I added this to the agenda, it could not wait until our August 14th meeting, and I'm requesting that he be appointed.
Is there a specific date that we need to mention in the motion?
Your other dispatchers are 1 year.
Effective July 1st?
It would be
2019?
effective whenever he got sworn in, so tonight's fine, because he can't get sworn in
Okay.
before.
Are you entertaining?
Yes,
You
I
know
am.
what, actually, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
just to be sure, let's retroact that.
That's
to-
why I was
Yeah,
just
thank
like,
you,
mm.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Justin Jackson as a reserve dispatcher, retroeffective back to July 1st, 2019, for the typical yearly appointment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
We received, sadly, we received a letter from Leah Quinn saying that she wishes to not be appointed to the Town Governance Committee, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Mrs. Leah Quinn from the Town Governance Study Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Town Administrator, do you have an opportunity to speak to Grant? We had a discussion Monday that,
I actually did not have an opportunity to speak with him. Would you like to hold this?
yes,
Okay.
well, are they meeting soon?
They are.
Supposed to meet
So-
on Monday.
They're meeting Monday, and I know, like, we need to make one appointment this evening, and I know at least 2 other people who are going to, they won't be ready for Monday, obviously, but they are also going to apply, so I'm willing to accept Mr. McQuillan's resignation so that those other folks there's like a vacancy for them.
So did we ever appoint him?
Yes.
We did.
We
All
did
right,
it
so
last
this is
meeting.
another, we're accepting his resignation. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, do you want a motion? I'm sorry.
So what he indicated in his resignation letter, I wanted to chat with him about it before he moved to, because he came here and he was obviously very interested in the position.
I think he needs some clarification
Right.
on his appointment, so if we could hold off on that.
Well, it's,
So how many people do we have now on the committee?
with
4.
him,
Oh,
no, 5, and then if we appoint
Do we?
Megan Tremuliaris, yes, it would be 6. Without Mr. McQuillan's
Right.
accepting his resignation, there would be 6.
he would be counted in the 6, yes.
Correct.
And that committee was 5 members or 7?
7.
7 members, so we can leave them on until our next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we table action on the, on acceptance of the resignation, on accepting the resignation of Grant McQuillan until our next meeting.
I will second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I did read his resignation
Okay.
letter, and it seemed quite emphatic, so I don't know why we're holding off on this, and we have other people interested.
But he also sent if it's the man I'm thinking of, didn't he send all of us an email ahead of, before he applied, and he expressed his concerns about the programs and things at the school. If it's the same man I'm thinking of.
I never got that email.
I didn't receive
Not
that email
familiar?
either, no.
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I have to go back and read, but I know I responded to it. But anyhow, okay, so we get a motion and a second.
No further discussion? I was reading this letter again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
While we're discussing this committee, we received a letter of interest to serve on this committee from Megan Feeney. And as they are meeting on Monday, and we may have a quorum issue, I didn't want this to have to wait till August 14th.
Well, it can't wait till August 14th, and she had sent something in several weeks ago, so it's actually a mistake that it wasn't on the agenda
Oh.
this evening.
Okay.
So what is our policy then? If we say that the committee is 7, we're letting them meet before they get 7 members, how?
Well, you can run, you just have to have a quorum. So if there weren't 7 people sitting on the committee, that's not their fault. But if there's 4, they can still take action and do what they need to do. Like,
So-
just us.
So we looked at the governance committee differently. Is that because it was 6 and there was an odd number? So they would never be able to?
No, we had originally like 12 people interested in serving for only 7 seats. That's why we had the.
Yeah, but we only appointed 6.
Because they didn't arrive. The other 3 did not come.
But they weren't going to have a meeting yet until they got the 7th member?
But that was
No, no,
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
trying to put together a meeting.
They have been trying,
They've
yeah.
been trying to put together a meeting, but now we have all of these
Yeah,
resignations, so.
now there's not even
Now
a
there's no
quorum.
quorum, there's
Yeah.
1 person standing, so.
So, getting back to the name you mentioned, are we going
Yes.
to appoint that person tonight, or what?
In the interest of time, I'm requesting that you do appoint this. We have issues with the number of people on these committees.
What's her name again?
Megan Feeney,
M-E-G-A-N?
A-N.
H-A-N? A-N?
no H, M-E-G-A-N.
F-E-E?
N-E-Y.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we appoint Megan Feeney to the DR, isn't it deregionalization?
No, it's,
Regional
Regionalization?
Study Committee, so that it
Regional-
wasn't, yeah.
Okay, Regionalization Study Committee.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
She's got to get in here and get
In
sworn
the
in.
interest of time, Megan, if you're watching, I will not be able to get your letter out in time. Come here, I'll go to the town clerks with you and attest that you've been appointed, and then they'll swear you in and do what you have to do, and you'll be all set to start. And I'll email her that in case she's not up watching our meetings.
Okay, appoint an alternate member to the Joint Transportation Planning Group and sign. Form.
Tom Ferry is serving as our member on this committee. This committee is through SERPID, and it's very important. It helps us keep our projects in the forefront of the regional group. An alternate member would be me, so I am actually requesting to be appointed here so that we can continue, in case Tom is absent or not able to attend one of these meetings, that we can still have representation. And then you would also just sign the form.
It's in my form folder.
It's
the
not, I
form.
know, I'm
We
already
started the
failing.
process and it's already
I
there.
did.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Mallory Aaronstein as the alternate to the Joint Transportation Planning Group for the town of Dayton.
Is there a second?
Friendly amendment for the period May 22nd, 2019 through May 24th, 2020.
Agree.
Any further discussion? Did you second that?
Yeah.
You made a friendly
I'm sorry,
amendment, but
second,
then.
yeah.
all those
And
in-
the friendly
Yes,
amendment second.
all those in favor, didn't
Aye.
accept the motion, so we're okay with the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
We also
So
need
what
to
do we-
appoint Mr. Ferry, no?
He's been appointed.
He's been appointed.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's what
Nope.
was in
Yeah,
here, so
he-
it confused me. My apologies. Sorry, Mr. Ferry.
That's what happens when you leave.
I'm all messed up on this motion. I'm gonna have to watch the video on this one.
Okay, the next agenda item is to appoint Patricia Gales to the Historical Commission. I am a member of the Historical Commission, as you guys know, you people know, I should say. We did vote at the last meeting to ask that the Board of Selectmen appoint her as a member of the Historical Commission. We're short 1 member, so I'm entertaining motions.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Patricia Gales to the Historical Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, I abstain. The ayes have it.
Are there any vacancies, Mr. Chairman, on any additional ones beyond that?
Is there one left?
I thought there was one.
Is she replacing Jim Diarudi?
Oh,
I
if
think
she
so,
is,
yeah.
Oh,
then-
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
If-
there's still one seat.
I
no?
don't think,
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. My math is not.
yeah.
We have a lot of people
Racine,
coming and
no,
Let me think
Joanne
about it.
Racine.
She resigned.
Right,
But we
and
we
then-
just appointed 2 people,
Oh, okay, all right.
2 meetings ago, I think, so. Rescind the appointment of Gregory Olson to the Development and Industrial Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we rescind the appointment of Mr. Gregory Olson to the Development and Industrial Commission.
Second?
Any discussion?
Thanks and appreciation.
Yep.
He's been a longtime member of that commission, and we thank you for all that you do, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. The next item is to approve and sign an agreement with the Bristol Agricultural High School for the use of the athletic field. This agreement does have dates in it, but you're gonna,
Well,
Yeah.
today would be the date, once you sign it, or if that
If it's
is
approved,
what's
yeah.
happening. So previously, you've discussed this matter, and the Bristol Aggie Group is utilizing for girls softball our field behind Town Hall as their home field. As part of doing so, they've had to make some improvements to the field, and they're not done yet. Once we have this agreement in place, we will be doing some excavating for them, and then they will be laying some new sod and loam and making it up to par with what needs to happen, and they're using some of their students, which I think is really cool for them to be able to do that. So this agreement spells out what both sides are contributing and has some legal terms. It has been okayed by town council, I just don't have his signature yet. It's here for you to vote.
My question, and I think I already know the answer. Once the town facility use policy, because the Carl K. Spratt Memorial Field is listed on there,
What-
I would assume that the Aggie would be
They,
exempt, correct?
they are, you mean for like paying a
Yeah,
fee and all
yeah.
that?
And
Yes.
just
So
like the
there's-
terms and conditions and all that.
Well, that is, well,
This is-
correct. I see what you're saying.
yeah.
We'll actually probably have them keep this. They will be in compliance because I know what they're doing.
Of course.
But they also they work with Parks and Rec is to schedule all of them. So we would never bump them. That's one of our things, one of our caveats in our policy that municipal functions take place. So that would be all.
But I guess my question is, all nonprofits are exempt, so I'm just making sure that if we vote on that at the next meeting, that
They'll
they're
be-
not beholden, even though we know that they, abide by the
Yeah.
guidelines pretty much already outlined in that policy that hasn't been approved yet, but we're not gonna be, what's the word I'm looking for, like tying their
Tying them
hands
up.
behind
No.
their back or
No,
anything?
not at all.
Okay, just
I mean, they
making
just
sure.
can't put up signs
Okay.
without our approval,
Mhm.
so. That's the only thing I can think of that would, or like throw confetti in the
And they're
air.
going to have the liability insurance, because I see that in here.
That's right
That
in
was
there,
one of the
yes.
things we asked about. On
And that's more for
occasion,
them they're doing work on our property.
right, on occasion, Dayton Rehoboth has used that field out there, so it's, I mean, yeah, we're part of that, but they're a separate legal
Yeah.
entity, sorry. But, yeah, so that'd be similar.
Thank you.
So I'm entertaining a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agreement for use and improvement of the Carl Spratt Athletic Field by the Bristol County Agricultural High School through their Board of Trustees as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Signed. The next agenda item is to review and approve the application for payments for the Dayton Police Station. Now, this
Oh, should I go?
this isn't additional charges, this is, we've
No,
all,
no.
so this isn't a change order or anything like that, this is money that's owed.
This is
period.
retainage, right, so it's actually, it makes me think of 53G accounts or things like that, so, 5% of all the subcontractors were set aside just in case something was wrong, or they couldn't, we had to go fix something that they did, so all of their work has been signed off on, and, we have there are two more vendors that are not included here, so you'll see one more. And that's on the very last page. Those are the two that are outstanding, but everybody else is included in this 123. And this is still under, you know, what has already been appropriated, so it's not extra funds. And Dennis McGee and Taylor McDonald, those who are working on the project, have signed off on this.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that
You
we,
look for this, as if we could-
no, I get this right here. I move that we approve the payment of $123,285.71 as presented by Tower Construction Company.
Is there a second?
Yep, I'm gonna second that.
Any discussion?
I do have a question, and I apologize if you already mentioned this. So, this is coming out of I understand the amount that was already approved by voters, I get that. Is it coming out of like specifically like contingency fees, or is it just?
Kind of whatever their, I mean, for our purposes, it doesn't truly matter in that sense, because it would have been for Taylor McDonald and people working on that to follow line by line everything. This is retainages from each subcontractor, so your HVAC, your electrical, your plumbing, all of those. So that would just kind of come out of those line items. I don't know how else to, like if he broke down in the whole budget, this is how much heating's gonna cost, this is how much plumbing's gonna cost. It would just come out of all of those different.
Okay, can I ask the question
Yeah,
a
I
different
don't,
way? I'm
yes,
sorry.
please do, because I know that I'm not answering.
And if either of you can explain as well. So we had an idea, and it was never like a solid number, of how much money would be quote-unquote returned to the town.
Oh, I'm sorry, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so no, it's not coming out of contingency, this is something
I
different.
was just curious.
I know what you mean, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, it's okay.
The last time he was in here, he was, ballpark number was 250 to 260, and he thought they were gonna disallow a couple of things, so it might be closer to 260. But this was
This
already
isn't-
figured in.
Okay, good. You know what my concern was now, instead of and it was again, just a ballpark, and I understood that. Now it would be like 120, so I was just
No,
making sure.
like you, I'm expecting somewhere around 250 to 260.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. The next item is to discuss the extension of the fiscal year 19 closing date. We received a communication to, town administrator received a communication asking that we extend the closing date to July 31st, 2019. It originally was, the deadline was July 15th, if I'm correct, or that's by statute. And if we extend it, we're talking about 3 different
Right,
departments.
so, with our personnel changes, we have not yet closed any books, for FY19, and by statute, we have to do that by August 31st. So we have the ability, in this very rare instance that we weren't able to actually complete the closing by the, date of July 15th, we're requesting to extend that date, and there were 3 departments that were overspent, and I have given the transfers for you to sign tonight. And again, if the auditors ever question us on it, we believe that we have a little bit of a point when we say we lost our town accountant at year end, hired an interim as fast as we could, and this is our solution to tidy things up so we can submit and close our books.
Mr. Chairman, oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I have a question then about the Parks and Recreation. That's quite a lot of
Yes.
money to,
Absolutely, and I had a conversation with him
so we're talking.
yesterday.
Can you say how much it is?
Sure, it's $3,542.13 that was overspent.
Overspent.
The other two, one of them is $36.12, and the other one is $600, if I'm correct. No, it's $517.27, but we're gonna go a little more than that, just as a cushion. It's a
Just for
recommendation
cushion,
from
correct.
our
Yes.
acting town accountant.
I had indicated, and you're aware of this, Mr. Chairman, at department head meetings, that I really want to avoid going to town meeting and asking to pay old bills. And mostly everybody, followed along with that directive, and I appreciate it. We have to just follow our deadline. I feel like I've beaten a dead horse. We have to keep our deadlines, and we have to be on top of our bills, especially at year end, and keep track of them. And if we haven't received an invoice for something we purchased, we need to encumber it. So again, next year, I'll be giving the guidance to those departments and, even above those three, obviously, but everybody, that we really do just have to keep track. Our town accountant, Ms. Louise, did a great job at keeping track for everybody. We're not always gonna have that, and I think we were a little spoiled, and it shows a little bit. But for three, it's just three.
Did we get an explanation as to why it went over $3,500? We don't have an explanation?
He's saying that he needed to, most of his spending takes place in the spring. That's not untrue. That's actually very accurate. Personally, I don't find it excusable. I don't think anybody should be overspending their budget. If it's an oversight by one's like $36, that's not a big deal. When you get into hundreds, I have a bit of a problem with it.
Yeah,
And
no.
I told him, we had a conversation. It was cordial, it was fine. I wasn't yelling at him, but I told him that it's a little bit high. And I don't really find it excusable.
It
Go ahead,
is
Frank.
high. I have no insight into what exactly was, the funds were expended on, but conversations that I've had with the Parks and Recreation Commission, I have urged them, when they prepare their budget, like for the annual town meeting, I have been saying for several years that they should ask for more. Equipment needs to be updated, maybe new equipment needs to be added to the parks. I hope if the Parks and Recreation Commission is watching tonight, that going forward, and I know, this year's fiscal year's budget is already set, that they ask for those funds.
I had actually, as part of this conversation, suggested as a way to advocate for more funds, because that did come up, have a plan in place, sort of like what we're doing, but, okay, so we know that you're looking to get a new playground in North Dayton, and this community playground's pretty good, but let's focus on Lane Field. The equipment's a little outdated, like maybe we can throw a new slide there or a new climbing
You
structure.
don't think a metal slide is a good idea?
I don't.
To
As a
keep-
mama too, I was like, no, or a merry-go-round.
I grew up with the metal slide, I turned
Yeah.
out just fine.
As long as it's not in the
Hot-
sun.
Exactly, and there's
That's the
no
problem.
shade over there.
Yes.
I wouldn't let my kids on it, but anyway,
I'm okay with the merry-go-round though.
Me too.
so I had suggested that he kind of distribute the wealth, so to speak, on one playground a year and show them that he's got a capital improvement
Yeah.
plan, as a way to
We're gonna-
get
I
more
totally
money.
agree.
It's like a little mini
an
planning
equipment-
process.
And I know we're getting a little off topic, but an equipment
Oh, it is really-
replacement plan
We're
would be.
we're asking to come up with $3,500, so it is
I just
worth a
think it's,
discussion.
I totally agree, Mr. Chairman and Madam Administrator, and I just feel like if the commission had gotten together and really developed like an in-depth equipment replacement plan, assess the inventory, it's probably less likely to overexpend.
To happen
is-
again,
Is
right.
just what I'm thinking.
And I don't mean this as like a criticism
No,
at
no.
all, and I hope he's
Well,
not
it came
taking
before
it
the
that
board
way.
and the first question we're gonna ask you is,
What
why?
happened? Yeah.
Well, the criticism is that you went beyond the budget, and how did that happen? And we just want to avoid it, as you suggested, that we avoid that from happening in the future. It's all committees, all boards, not just this particular.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
So,
Deadlines are important.
yes.
So we need to vote first, Mr. Chairman, on the extension of the
Extension.
books closing, correct?
That's correct, yep.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, excuse me, actually, I'm gonna let Selectman Goulart do this one, because I'm actually unsure. Is the date July 31st, 2019?
Yes.
July 31st, however,
It's
I
July
don't
31st.
think any other department should be doing anything to extend payment on their budget. And I'll just leave it at that, that I think these three, and that's it.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we establish the FY19 closing date of July 31st, 2019, as requested.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
I did want to say, because I'm not sure if we did this at a meeting, but I do want to thank our former town accountant, Mrs. Louise, for the fantastic work that she did over the years and the many years of service that she gave the town. And maybe we thanked her last time, but I just wanted to
I
make
believe you
sure.
did.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to mention, as additional information for the record for the next audit, that we took this action to extend the closing date from the statutory July 15th because we did not have the town accountant in place, and we need the time.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. So we need to transfer these funds. So we need to transfer $100 for the life insurance, the Board of Health, $650, and Parks and Recreation, $4,000. Do we have to, which fund are we transferring it from?
Well, it
The
says
top-
on the.
Right, the top
yeah.
one is the transfer fund, and then the bottom one is where the money's going.
The account that's gonna receive the
Thank you, yeah.
transferred funds. Selectman
So
Goulart,
I'm
you
entertaining
typically do
motions.
these.
What I'm looking for is,
Poor Nancy.
no, what I'm looking for, because again, I'm thinking of audits. We've done the extension of the fiscal year. We did not have an agenda item to approve transfers. So I'm suggesting that we amend this agenda under this discuss extension, closing date, and approve transfers, because it's all included in the acting town accountant's request.
And do you have the other, his memo also details all of the funding as well?
Yeah, that's,
Okay,
I
I
think
just-
that's what,
yeah, I
so-
wanna make sure
So
that-
I just want to make sure that we add to the agenda and approve transfers as requested, because we've got the backup for it. Okay?
So is that a motion that you've made then?
So I make a motion that we amend the agenda by adding under item 7I,
Yes.
and approve transfers as requested. And then I'll read,
Sure.
I'll do the motions for the transfers.
Second.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I gotta say the numbers.
Yeah, she needs the
No,
actual.
you're just,
For the
yeah, we're
adding
gonna
to
vote
agenda.
to add it to the agenda first.
Oh, okay.
Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Okay. So, are these the actual documents?
These are the actual
Yes.
documents.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve a transfer from 433 Waste Collection and Disposal, $650, and Landfill Recyclery, 010-433-705303, $650, to Department 510, Board of Health, $650 salary health agent, and 010-510-5106, $650, as requested.
Second.
Any discussion?
The mention here is insufficient funds available to cover conservation inspections.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. We'll start signing.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we transfer from Treasurer's account $3,600 from Benefits Health Insurance, 010-914-705174, to Parks and Recreation, Equipment Repairs and Maintenance, 010-630-705240, as requested.
Second.
Any further discussion or any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we transfer from the Treasurer's Department $36.12 for group health insurance, 010-914-705174, to Treasurer's Group Life Insurance, account 010-915-705174, 5175 group life insurance as requested.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
I like these pens.
The next item is to discuss the approval of the Susan G. Komen New England Impact Ride event for September 28, 2019. We received a request from this group that they'll be driving through town. They gave us the path that they're going to be riding. Has the highway department, police chief, fire chief, are they aware of?
They are aware. I've only heard from the fire chief that, he's okay with it. And usually this really, they just go through our community, and so you've got a list of streets here
Yep.
that they're impacting.
What's
So
the-
should,
I didn't receive anything from
should we
the
make a
police
motion,
chief.
Mr. Chairman, contingent
Contingent.
upon, police
Police
chief's
and-
review?
And the highway department, I would think
Okay.
would have to, superintendent of the highway department would have to be aware of it. Yes. Is that your motion then? That you
I'm
approve
sorry,
this?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we approve the Susan G. Komen New England Impact Ride event on September 28, 2019, contingent upon both the police chief and the highway superintendent giving the green light.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. The next agenda item is to approve the request of the Brownie Troop 82230 and Cub Scout Pack 45 to have collection boxes at Town Hall from August 1st, 2019 to August 23rd, 2019. And when we're talking about Town Hall, we're talking about just this building only, not the old Town Hall?
Correct, just here.
Out in the foyer.
Right, this is similar. They had done a crayon drive, I think.
Yes.
And it was pretty successful.
Mhm.
So she reached out again and asked if they could do, and this one is for paper products. Do you want to?
Oh, back to school
Yeah.
supplies?
It's in terms of
No?
paper products. We are seeking donations for paper towels, paper plates, napkins, toilet paper, soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste, etc.
And it's for the food pantry, and there's one other beneficiary. I want to say animal shelter, but I don't
So
think
it's
that's
not our food pantry though, or is it, does the school have something? No?
right. No, I thought it was our food.
It's our food pantry?
Yes,
No.
I would
Good to know.
assume. The food bank downstairs. I could be wrong.
I didn't know the school had their own.
I don't know,
So it's,
whatever.
it's paper and paper products.
Personal hygiene products as well.
Yeah, the food bank occasionally has some of these products, but doesn't have a lot of these products, and I'm sure there's a
It
use
is
for
school
it.
supplies, because it's,
Oh, it says school supply drive.
yeah,
A
so.
back-to-school supply drive.
We're coordinating with Mrs. Wilkins for the food pantry, as well as the school nurse at Dayton Middle School for distribution of the school supplies. So that's good.
That is fabulous.
So school supplies, if you happen to have an extra backpack, toiletries,
Mhm.
toothpaste, yeah, oh, that's good. Yeah.
I'd also like to invite her to send me some sort of like flyer that they might have, and then we can put it on our bulletin boards and
Yeah.
things like that.
Can I make a request before we make a
Sure.
motion and vote on this? I would love, once the drive concludes, to have
Them
them
come in, right? On the
and
bottom of
obviously
my.
we can't make them if they don't want to.
So she
But,
responded.
recognition for
Yeah.
doing
Good.
really grassroots,
Right.
community beneficial work like this.
To talk
I would
about
love
its
to-
success.
Absolutely.
So do we want to make this conditional that they have to come in?
Oh, we don't give
Poor
them
Girl
stuff.
Scouts.
They have to come and claim it.
I'll entertain a motion.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the request of Brownie Troop 82230 and Cub Scout Pack 45 to have their collection box at Town Hall for their school supply drive from August 1st, 2019 to August 23rd, 2019.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Correspondence. We received a correspondence from the fire chief, Chief McGee, requesting our support for the firefighter paramedic Eric Gagnon, who is looking to pursue his associate degree in fire science. Eric is a hard-working, energetic person, always looking to better himself. I believe this is a great opportunity for him to continue his education to better serve the town and department. Please consider firefighter paramedic Gagnon for the education incentive benefit.
So this is to request use of the tuition reimbursement program that we have. We have $4,000 in that fund, and there's only one other person who has already requested. Generally, they're supposed to do this request for during budget time, so that we make sure that we have enough in there and can control costs. We do have enough.
We do have enough. That was my question.
So this is our second person?
Yes.
And that's exactly what we were hoping was gonna happen, that if we put the money there, we would get people interested.
And the other individual that utilizes the incentive is also in the fire department, correct?
Yes.
Well, I think that's fabulous.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we notify Chief McGee that we support firefighter paramedic Eric Gagnon's plans to pursue his associate's degree in fire science.
Friendly amendment approve the request.
You have to approve him to
'Cause
be
it's-
able to use.
'Cause it's in our budget.
Yes.
Yes,
to
that's
use
fine.
these
Strike
funds.
support and put approve.
Thank you.
You know what? Support and approve. Because we were trying to recruit people to do this, so we give them their support.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Karen, if you watch this, I understand what you go through.
Hopefully she's not watching this.
Hopefully she's
She
enjoying her
sent me
time.
minutes, and I'm like, why are you working?
The next correspondence is also from Fire Chief McGee, informing us that effective August 1st, he will be appointing 2 new members of the call firefighter ranks. The new members are Dana Costello and Christopher Sigro. Is that
Scrow.
Scro? Any
I went to
questions,
school with
concern?
him.
Please don't hesitate to contact us. So that's just a notification, so we don't have to take any action on that.
Welcome
But
to
we
Diane.
usually take a vote that we acknowledge it, correct?
Yes.
Selectman
Yes,
Goulart?
yes.
One thing I do want to say is,
Just acknowledged it.
my hat goes off to Chief McGee on this. Selectman Goulart, you remember several years ago, we were having an issue retaining call firefighters. So this is actually really great to see so many new individuals added to the call firefighter rank. So my hat's going off to you
And
tonight.
I think
Chief
during the
McGee.
interviews, one of the goals was that he was going to increase the call ranks, and he's certainly done that.
Man of your word.
I was just gonna say that, he's a man of his word, he sets out to do something, he does it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we acknowledge the appointment of Dana Costello and Christopher Scrow to the call firefighter ranks,
Second.
effective August 1st, 2019.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Great job, Chief.
Absolutely.
And regretfully, we received a letter from Fran Linden asking that she indicate to us that she wants to resign from the Dayton Cultural Council. She's been the past chairman for a few years now. She's done great work. This is effective July 31st, and I'm sad to leave her go. She's
I
done.
did send this to the town clerk, by the way,
Okay, so,
so she's aware.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept with thanks and regret the resignation of Fran Linden from the Cultural Council.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Announcement, as voted at the last meeting, the Board of Selectmen are meeting at 7 o'clock instead of 6:30. This is going forward. Our next meeting is August 14th, so we'll be meeting at 7 o'clock. And the second announcement is that the Dayton Fire Department Fire Association will be hosting its 3rd annual Touch a Truck event on Saturday, September 14, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Rain date is Saturday, September 21st, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the grounds of the Manham, New England, at 123 William Street, North Dayton, Mass. I believe all 3 of us was there last
Yep.
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
So it's a
because
good
it
event.
was,
The kids really enjoy
Grant.
it.
For Grant.
Grant
Grant
Medeiros.
Medeiros,
Yes.
yeah, Grant Medeiros.
Mr. Chairman, I have one announcement, a kind of a reminder. The Pan Mass Challenge
Oh, good.
will be
Yes.
coming through Dayton on Saturday, August the 3rd, no matter what the weather is. And as you know, they start arriving at Dayton, Rehoboth from 10:30 on. We encourage everybody to either go to DR or be along the route, which is Regional Road to Horton Street, to William Street, Center Street, and over the bridge. So line up along the way, cheer them on. If you want to volunteer services at the school to give out water or whatever, everything is donated. Our police and fire and anyone else that's needed will be there donating their time. I think the goal this year is somewhere over $60 million. So also, if you can, pick a team and send in a monetary support. So again, Saturday, August the 4th.
And we know it's rain or shine, because I believe it rained last year.
Excuse me, Saturday, August the 3rd. August the 4th is the continuation and the final leg to Provincetown.
Thank you for that.
Fabulous.
Selectmen reports, I have nothing to report.
I have nothing.
I have nothing. That's like a first.
Wow, see, acknowledgements.
How was your vacation? You can give her, just give her restful, hopefully.
It was a great vacation.
I'm glad you enjoyed.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to access my emails.
Unfortunately.
Oh, that's.
Unfortunately, but
Fortunately.
I thought I was gonna send an email to Karen, and I said, I'm not gonna do that.
Well,
Let me
that's a
just-
sign.
Yeah, so,
The only unfortunate part is when you do open it up, there's so much stuff you gotta
Yes,
delete that's junk and, you know.
so, anyways, it was a good vacation. It was nice to go away and nice to come back.
Well, less nice to come back, but.
Well, as I told my daughters and my son-in-laws that, and I want to belabor this, it's nice for me and my wife to come back. We're retired. They have to go back to work.
Oh.
So that's different, so.
Well, you have to come back to yard
Right,
work.
they were ready to come back after 7 days, but they all said that by Monday they'd be ready to go back to Portugal, so. But anyway, we all had a good time. It's a great experience. I would advocate, if anybody has an opportunity to go to San Miguel, Azores.
That's where my
It's-
ancestors are from, and we're gonna plan a trip to go
Yeah,
there,
we-
my mother.
We
and
went
my
to the
father
church,
and
my grandmother, one of my grandmothers was baptized then, so we were fortunate to do that. And my wife
Fabulous.
went to the house that her grandmother was born in, so, anyway.
That's awesome.
Under acknowledgements, we received a donation of $30 from 4 Prime Time Supportive Day Program.
Mr.
I'm sorry. Nope, Selectman Goulart.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we acknowledge an anonymous donation of $30 to Primetime.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Minutes, except for review the minutes of July 10, 2019, and we did receive, everybody should have received a copy of those minutes.
Oh, I have your copy.
No, it's okay.
Sorry, it's in
It's
there.
just, I'm gonna review it when
Yeah.
I have a moment.
Okay, yeah, no.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept for review the minutes of July 10th, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Approval of the minutes of May 8th and June 26th, we got these minutes at the last meeting.
I didn't get 26, and when I found it in the thing, I said, I didn't look at these, so I can't vote on 26.
How
Let's
about,
do, we'll do the other two. Mr. Chairman, if that's okay with
Yeah, I
Selectman
did,
Goulart.
I got May and April and May, I should
Sure.
say.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the minutes of April 10th, 2019, and May 8th, 2019.
Second.
I have a question on April 10th, and
I
I
have
think
a
you have the
question.
same question.
Well, I have a question on May 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Have there been any changes from what, the copy that we received? Have there been any changes to those minutes? Yeah,
I
many
usually
changes?
don't- No, I didn't have any changes.
Mrs. Gulati, you make any
Yes,
change?
there were changes.
So,
None of them, they were clarifying changes, if you want to look at them. Like, we talked about people being appointed, I asked her to list the names, which were done. I added things like we're talking about the sidewalk program, so,
I'm not prepared to,
okay,
vote on
I'm
this.
gonna rescind my motion, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Yeah, okay, and I'll rescind the
So,
second.
so we'll get to vote on May 8th and June 26th at the next, our next meeting.
Okay.
Before I make a motion, Madam Administrator, did you, or Mr. Chairman as well, did you have any concerns about April 10th, 2019?
No, I've
I
seen,
thought you were gonna say, maybe I'm.
There were
wrong.
changes
I've
to
seen-
both.
Yes.
Reading body language here.
There were changes to April 10th, and I've seen those changes, so I'm.
Oh,
okay with-
April
Were
10th,
submitted-
okay, it's
Yes.
May the 8th.
So April 10th, at the
Yes.
last meeting, the changes that Selectman Goulart made were sent to the two of you.
Yeah.
And then you're here voting on whether or not to accept it with those changes.
All right.
So it's May 8th and June 26th that we're
We're
deferring?
gonna
To
hold.
Yes.
next meeting.
Okay,
We're gonna
all
hold.
right, okay.
And we should be, because we want to speed this up, we should be prepared to vote on that at our next meeting.
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before I make the motion for the approval of April, I'm going to make a motion that we table the approval of the minutes of May 8th and June 26th, 2019 until our next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of April 10th, 2019.
Second.
Any discussion?
This would be as
As
amended.
amended by,
amended. By the board.
by the board, yep. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Approval of the warrants.
Okay, we had a whole bunch. Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved. Oh, before I do that, I have to tell you this ahead of time. When I was in here today, I approved two warrants with bills on it. One was all National Grid for $3,185.28. The other one was National Grid, Comcast, and WB Mason for $1,881.67. They're in the big bunch you signed tonight, but usually there's two signatures.
I
so-
got a second signature this afternoon.
Oh, okay,
to be
fine.
Yes.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved. 3A-20 in the amount of $107,155.34 payroll. 3B-20 in the amount of $370,524.03 accounts payable dated July 17th be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
abstention, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved. 4A-20 in the amount of $122,190.03 payroll. 4B-20 in the amount of $16,886.06 payroll. 4C-20 in the amount of $183,820.05. And 4D-20 in the amount of $3,237.93, the last two being accounts payable, all dated July 24th, be approved.
Second.
Second
dis-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any discussion? Did you,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I get that back so I can accurately reflect them in the
sure.
minutes. I'm not as quick as Kara.
actually put it in her, she's giving me a folder.
Thank you very much.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Public input, there's nobody here.
I just want to ask the question, I haven't heard anything, so I'm hoping no one else has heard anything. Did we make it through the extreme heat without any problems in town? As far
As
as
far as
our
excessive heat?
residents,
Correct.
or, you know how some
Yes.
places were opening shelters and all that?
Correct, we did.
Everything was
We
okay?
actually did have a conversation, it was via text, thank you to Chairman Pyers of the Board of Health for keeping me in the loop while I was away. That we were prepared to open up a cooling center if it came to that, but
Very
we
good.
had no problems. The revitalization of the Emergency Preparedness Committee has been actually really great. We know what we're gonna do, we have it all sort of, I mean, not in everything, but we have it all pretty much laid out and have some good open lines of communication. That's what you need, that's what
Yeah,
you
they
need in a
checked one of the
crisis.
buildings in town that runs by a generator, so it was, air conditioner was working fully, so
Yeah.
we're all set with that.
So for the public out there, just be aware, if we do have another episode of extreme weather conditions, whether it's heat or cold, we have a committee in place, we have plans in place so that you won't have to worry. If something happens, call the dispatch center and let them know what your problem is, and we will address it.
Very good, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else to discuss.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
You weren't gonna let us have a discussion on that. Just
Thank you, Cable.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.